This is a Fox News Alert. You're looking at live pictures from El Paso, Texas, right on the border. The president will take the stage there at any moment. Immigration expected to be a major focus of his speech tonight. In the State of the Union last week, the president suggested there ought to be more legal immigration to this country. That's a shift from his campaign speeches. He said after we need more workers, and immigration is a way to get them. Oren studies this question. He's a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute, author of the book, The Once and Future Worker, and a very smart man. He joins us tonight. Does the United States need more guest workers?
No, I don't think we do.
Everyone in Washington thinks we do.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce and lobbyists for corporations think we do because it benefits them if they don't have to find a way to make do with the workers we already have here.
So what are we know we hear a lot about the positive effects of guest workers. What are the negative effects on this country?
Well, the negative effect is that it relieves pressure on the labor market and on employers to figure out a way to build businesses that actually make do with the workers we have here. And it says, you know, if you have an idea for a business and it's one that you'd rather just bring someone else in for, it doesn't even have to be a citizen. We'll bring someone in, you use them, and you send them away, and we're not going to worry about what happens to the workers who actually live here.
So companies used to care about the quality of American schools because that's where their labor force was educated. People care much less about public schools. Do you think that's one of the reasons?
It could be. There's a famous saying from a guy named Max Frisch who studied this in Germany. He said, you know, we wanted workers, but we got people.
Yeah.
And it's just this idea of we're not going to actually think about our economy as being about the people who live here and need to support themselves here. We're just going to think about it as a way to make more stuff cheaper. And that can work out well in the short term, but it can be a real mistake in the long run.
Has it ever worked in a country you're aware of long term well for the country?
There have been times when it's worked. You know, we had a big program in the 50s and 60s that we tried to bring in a lot of Mexican farm workers.
Yeah,
a lot of folks actually trace that back to, in a sense, the start of the legal immigration problem, because we brought folks here, we assumed they'd all leave, and guess what? Some of them thought they'd rather stay here.
Yeah, and the work they did has since been automated.
Some of it has, and there's this idea that, you know, it's work that Americans won't do, but in fact, almost every category of work, farm workers included, most of the people doing that work are Americans. So I think we actually need to put a little bit more pressure on employers to say, you know what, why don't you find a way to make this work with people we have here and invest in making Americans more productive so it's good for business and good for workers.
Yeah, what you said qualifies as radical in Washington, but it seems so non-radical and so obvious to me. Oren, one of the few people saying that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The president will take the stage in El Paso, Texas, as we said, any minute now. Tonight's rally a few blocks from the U.S.-Mexico border. Michael Anton served in the White House. He's the author of the book After the Flight 93 Election, and he joins us here on the set. Michael Anton, thank you very much for joining us. I have to ask you about this book, which I have right here. After the Flight 93, you wrote the famous essay framing the last election, the 2016 election, in these kind of broad and powerful terms. It changed people's minds. What's your conclusion in this book?
My conclusion in this book is people criticized me and said, okay, maybe you made a good case for why doom was coming, but you never gave us your positive case for the future. What is America supposed to look like? What do you actually want to see? So I said, I have that. I just, you know, in a short essay in the middle of a campaign, I didn't put everything I know in it. So I was asked to republish the Flight 93 election, and I said I'd be happy to do that, but I want to add some new material at the beginning to say this is what we should be fighting for. This is the America that we're at risk of losing, that we need to be fighting for, why it's good, why the older American principles are sound, and we need to return to them as part of going forward toward a better future for our people. Some of that also means we need to go back to a better way of understanding politics, common citizenship, an elite that cares about the people, that is, you've criticized, and I completely agree with your criticism, that they're mercenaries. They don't really care about what's happening to the people in the country nearly as much as they should, if at all. We need to go back to that. So in some ways, the way forward is a way back, and I try to sketch that in the new material.
But in 2019, anything back is immoral. Yeah. Right. So that's why do the people in charge tell us constantly that anything that happened before is wrong and we shouldn't learn from it or know about it? All we should do is be ashamed of it. Why do you think they say that?
Because they don't want to change course at all. Because they're benefiting from the current system. They like it. They know that a lot of people are unhappy with it. That's what the 2016 election was all about. And they want to just tamp down that justified, some of it is anger, some of it's uneasiness, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of justified discontent discontent, and they want to tamp that down and say, illegitimate. If you disagree with, if you don't like any aspect of the current system, it just means you're bad and racist is evil, and you want to go back to, segregation and so on. And so the only way we can do it is to keep doing exactly what we're doing now, and if you disagree, you're bad.
How long do you think they can do? I mean, you can yell at your kids and boss them around, but then they turn 18 and they can do whatever they want, and then they hate you. Do our leaders understand that, or do they think this can go on forever?
I think they think it can go on forever. I don't believe it can go on forever, because one of the points that I make in the book is I believe there is nature. Nature poses limits to human beings and to what we can accomplish. And what we're seeing now is this project is bumping up against natural limits.
Yes.
And they're starting to find that they can't do everything that they want to do. I mean, a great example, which you've talked about a lot in the last couple of days, is the Green New Deal program. Leave aside everything else you want to say about the Green New Deal program. I just don't think it's within the realm of possibility in the laws of physics that they can find some way to get rid of all fossil fuels and not make the country dramatically.
Okay, you know how you know when someone's a bigot in 2019 when he appeals to this physics thing?
Yeah, it's just nature is just going to say no.
Gravity,
we don't know how to do this.
I don't believe in any of that spooky stuff.
Yeah.
Michael Anton, great to see you.
Thank you.
And congrats on the book.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the Congress, Democrats in the Congress anyway, would like to cap the number of illegal immigrants the government can detain. Is that a good idea? We're going to ask Richard Goodstein, who served, as you know, as an advisor to Bill Clinton. He joins us today. So, Richard, I tried to get the answer to this from Enrique Acevedo. He wasn't honest enough to even acknowledge my question. But if we're going to say that the government can only hold a certain number of illegal aliens, why don't we make the same allowance, the same liberal allowance for American citizens?
Yeah, I really can't address that. The news is that there's an agreement in principle.
That's right.
So somehow or other, Republicans and Democrats have had a meeting of the minds on this issue, right? Even since you've been on the air. And I would say the news is that the sign behind Donald Trump, finish the wall.
Right.
He's a fabulist. Every expert will tell you there is no wall to finish. There are barriers, and we should reinforce them. And Democrats are for beds to basically house people who are true national security threats, okay? But not moms and dads who have been in the community for 30 years, go to church, pay taxes, have kids who are Americans. Those people shouldn't be in those beds. Well,
I guess it depends on whether they commit crimes or not, right? So if 88%, moms and dads commit crimes, lots of American moms and dads are languishing in jail. They're separated from their kids, but nobody cares because they're just Americans. They can just shut up and die. But why shouldn't we arrest and detain anyone who commits a crime?
Yeah. So first
we do
of all,
that with Americans.
As to the percentage of people that ICE has detained who have committed crimes, I'm looking at Reason, the libertarian magazine. October of 2018 says 58% have not been convicted, basically been convicted of a crime at all. Right? That are being held.
The 88%, according to the DHS numbers out today, 88% have been either convicted of or charged with. And typically you detain, especially if it's a non-citizen who's a flight risk, you detain people until you either convict or acquit them, right? So 88% of crimes not related to their immigration status, that's a lot.
Yeah, but I think what the Democrats were trying to do, and we'll see what comes out of this negotiation, was basically say, let's go after national security threats, okay? The mom who basically engaged in some speeding violation is not that and shouldn't be taking up a bed for somebody who's, look, if we have another shutdown, border agents aren't being paid. DE agents, the FBI, who's prosecuting MS-13.
I'm not arguing for a shutdown. I just want the country to be safe. It looks like we're out of time. We're going to go to this rally. Richard Goodstein.
Thank you.
You're being preempted by the president.
Gosh.